Hello and welcome to Fossil Arcade. Today we're doing a slightly different kind of video. I was fortunate enough to take a trip to Tokyo, Japan earlier this year.
Wow. And
we saw Mount Fuji and the Meiji Shrine and we did lots of shopping, but obviously we went to a lot of arcades as well, so I thought we may as well talk about it and make a bit of a video of it to sort of share the experience as it was when we were there. Although Alex didn't go, he's just
like I said, just to be clear, I was there, so I'm quite interested to hear
what it was like.
What Japanese arcades are like.
Went to 3 different districts for the arcades. We went to Shibuya, Ikebukaro and Akihabara. My pronunciation of Japanese words may not be the best, but those are the 3 districts we went to. Akihabara is the one that's known for having a lot of video game stuff.
Yeah.
So that was like the peak of our video game experience in Tokyo. But the other arcades we went to were, more or less similar experiences. So we had a sort of, we went all over the city and we saw everything that there was on offer at the time.
Yeah, I've seen some of your footage of the arcades. I mean, my first question, most basic question, really, is what is a Japanese arcade like? What is the atmosphere and vibe like, and how is that different to, say, a UK arcade?
A UK arcade is they're normally quite small. They're few and far between, unless you're living at the seaside. And even if you are at the seaside, they're normally sort of tourist attractions, like little sort of coin-winning games. It's nothing like Street Fighter 2 or big racing games like Outrun or anything like that. Whereas bigger arcades have that stuff, but they're more rare. So it's a big novelty to go there and see like a real arcade. But as far as what they're like, they're usually 5 or 6 stories tall. So you'll have floors on the lower levels which will have like crane games and stuff, and then as you get higher it gets into there'll be a whole floor of, say, Tekken, and then there'll be a whole floor
of Tekken?
Yeah, and there'll be a floor of music games, and then there'll be a floor for just gambling, like horse racing and horse racing simulations. And in terms of atmosphere, they're basically what you'd expect. It's dark, it's noisy, and it does not smell good at all. Something that we did not realise till we were there was that in many public places in Japan it's still legal to smoke. Right. It's not unanimous across all restaurants and bars and everywhere, but certainly in arcades smoking is the norm, which is odd because there are certain streets in Tokyo where it's illegal to smoke on the street. But the arcades, it's thick, sort of 1970s level fog of cigarette smoke.
You sort of want to crouch down, get below the smoke level.
I don't want to put a downer on the whole video right from the outset, but it did kind of put us off the arcades.
Like you didn't want to be in there for too much time.
Things I was there for, like I knew that we'd see some fun stuff, but I absolutely needed to play Tekken 7 and Pokken Tournament. Yeah. But I didn't play them anywhere near as much as I would have done because just the smoke inhalation was very irritating. Yeah. And once we'd experienced it, I tended to kind of back away from it. And
you can't get comfortable, can you? In that
it was disappointing because we couldn't get comfortable, and you didn't necessarily feel like it was a nice environment. But the reason they do that is because obviously they do attract a crowd of people who are habitual arcade users, and they gamble there, and that's just how they spend their day.
And if they want to smoke, they don't want to say you've got to go outside. It's money.
Generally the arcades were Sega branded because the world over Sega's known as like this big games company, but the truth is they make most of their profits year on year from the arcades in Tokyo because they are the #1, and you see the Sega Club brand everywhere. There'll be one, maybe 1 or 2, and certainly in Akihabara there was 3, I think. Huge Sega arcades with big Sega lights, and it's not that they're full of Sega games per se, but that's sort of like the establishment where you would sort of franchise it out. It's just that's known as the arcade.
And what kind of people did you generally find in the arcades? Because I'd say again in the UK, it's kind of a mix of. The games feel like they're more aimed at children, I'd say, in England and the UK, and then the slot machines are for the adults. So we often have that bit is even sectioned off 18s only. Yeah. So were there a mix of children and adults? Did you get different people on different floors?
It's a floor thing. So basically, you have like the lower floors would be the crane games of like you could get a Pikachu toy out of there, and then the second floor would be games that you'd recognise, like the Taiko Drums, and then there's a Luigi's Mansion game, and Pokken, and as you get up, it was
family
like,
friendly, isn't it?
yeah, then there'd be 18s only. The people there, and I don't want to sound stereotypical, because I know there's hundreds of thousands of videos online of the, you know, stereotypical Japanese person at the arcade machine just giving it that, and again every single high score, and it's just like the most amazing, flawless play you've ever seen. But we saw that.
Yeah.
I think it was just their way of winding down. These people go out of work, they go into the arcade, and that's just how they spend their evening. So they're doing it to relax. It just happens that they do it so often. Because guys are there in their work clothes, you see kids going in there in their school uniform. It's just where they go after they finish doing their work today.
Now, I had a question, because again I've seen the footage. A few questions around Tekken 7 really. Did you own Tekken 7 when you went?
It wasn't out in the UK or
I
the US.
thought you had, because I seem to remember that's why you wanted to sort of play it.
Because basically what happened was, for anyone who doesn't know, Tekken 7 came out in the arcades in Japan like a good year or two before it was released on console and PC, the worldwide like audience.
Tekken 7 Rated Retribution.
So it was an opportunity to play it when it wasn't out. It's not like how it used to be in the old days where you go into an arcade and you just fight the person next to you. These machines are online now.
Yeah.
So everybody's just playing all over the country.
I could see from the footage you had that it looked quite confusing, obviously not speaking and reading Japanese, to choose your mode. But would you say that the majority of people just play it online, like they wouldn't play the single player on it?
Well, I sat down with my friend who I was with, and we wanted to play against each other. And we made the assumption that the arcade units that were side by side would be connected, because there is an arcade in London that I sometimes go to where they have that setup, so we just presumed it would be the same. But we found out later that it's the arcade cabinets which are back to back. They fight one another, so you wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't. They're too large to see across. These are big things. But we were sitting side by side. We tried to play against each other. Obviously, not having a strong knowledge of Japanese text, we didn't manage to do that. But we both got put into these online matches, and I won one round, and I lost another, I think. So.
And another thing,
it was my first time ever playing. So
and I noticed the machines themselves, they seem to have loads of like little screens on them and places where you can put in a card and things. Can you explain some of what that is about?
So the card thing is basically it's a near field communication card, same as an Oyster card or an Amiibo card. It saves your progress onto the card, so your high score, your profile, and it also carries your money. So it's a way of kind of speeding up the arcade process. It's also more, it's cleaner because you're not dealing with coins.
Yeah.
I got one. Wasn't sure how to use it because I didn't know how to read anything. But basically what you do is you just go to the game and it would ask you to make a profile and save it to your card. So when I go and play Tekken again, it would remember me and what character I use and what my high scores were and stuff like that.
I'd say you probably don't see so many fighting games in the UK anymore.
Not unless you go to a proper arcade. Yeah, if you just go to an amusement arcade. Yeah. It's very, very rare. You might go to the bowling alley and see like virtual tennis, and they'd have that, and that'd basically be it. But even more, Time Crisis, Penny Falls, House of the Dead. Speaking of House of the Dead though, we did get to play Typing of the Dead.
Yes, I saw that. I can only guess that's never had a Western release.
It has had a Western release.
Really?
It was released on PC, Dreamcast and PS2 in Japan and America. And basically, if anybody who doesn't know, it's House of the Dead 2 but with typing. So you're basically trying to teach you to fast type. Found it very difficult to play because, again, it was all Japanese. But the thing that I didn't realise at the time was that if the word, say, was sushi, the characters on the keyboard would be kanji, so you wouldn't recognise them, but the letters and the sounds are in the same place. So if you know where like SU and all that is, you can type the word sushi and it will still
so
be
if it's QWERTY, you'd get it really easy.
So when I first played with my friend, he can read a bit of Japanese and he was telling me what to type, and I couldn't quite do it because he was talking to me and I was looking and I was getting all excited and I didn't quite do it. But then I filmed he and my girlfriend playing, and they were a lot better because we got the concept at that point, and it was quite fun to play. There was also English of the Dead, which was House of the Dead 2 for DS, and that was a Japan-only game designed to teach people how to read and write English by playing House of the Dead. But like I say, it's Japan only. But because it's on DS, that's region free. So if you want to import it and give it a go, you can play it.
That's great. So you said you played Pokken as well.
Yeah.
And I saw from your footage, it had the Pokken tournament controller. Yeah, controller. Did the arcade with that controller come before the controller came out for the Wii U?
It's all part of the same marketing thing. They made the arcade unit, rather than use a traditional stick and button input, they made that controller so it had parity with the Wii U gamepad, the size and the shape of it.
Yeah. And
then obviously they just released the controller to make money.
Yeah.
So it's always been that way, it's just that it's different. I think they want to make it more accessible for non-gamers or like younger people who are more used to the home experience than the arcade experience, because a stick can sometimes turn people off. That's my Pokken pad. It's a lot smaller, this one, than the arcade one. The arcade one's larger, and it has lights in the bottom. Unfortunately, the home version doesn't have lights. It's just a red piece of plastic, which is
that's disappointing.
sad. But other than that, they're basically exactly the same. So playing Pokken in the arcade wasn't that different to playing at home. The difference was, back then, we didn't know that it was going to come to the Switch, but the arcade edition in Japan had extra characters.
Right.
Because for anybody who doesn't know, Pokken as an arcade game is exclusive to Japan. There's no Western release of that. So they had 4 extra characters that I played, and as far as I was concerned at the time, that was probably going to be my only time I could ever do it.
It was really worthwhile.
So I played that one twice. I played that at the Mega Tokyo Pokemon shop, and I played it at a Sega club in Akihabara. So one of the most exciting things we saw was Super Hang-On, which is obviously like quite an old game, and we weren't expecting, because arcades are still quite a current thing in Japan, most of it is brand new stuff. We weren't really expecting to see retro games.
Yeah.
So when we saw Super Hang-On, which is like one of Sega's biggest like arcade classics, we were really, really excited. It was still in really good condition, screen was lovely and clean, and there was nobody there. So we had a really great time taking the turns on that. And obviously, having played it on the Mega Drive, I've never done the physical things before, so that was really, really fun to do, and I was really, really bad at it as well.
The game still hold up all these years later, did you feel? As an arcade?
Truth be told, I've never really liked Super Hang-On. I'm just appreciative of the place it has in Sega's like lexicon, the history of it. But it's just as good. I mean, it is more fun to do it physically. I think I would put more time into it if I was at an arcade than I would on a console, because it's the novelty of moving. But yeah, I mean, the games looked great, sounded great, so that was really fun to
I remember
see.
playing it on the Mega Drive when it was actually current, so quite a long time ago. But I think I would have jumped on that machine as well. On a racing topic, I did see that you played Mario Kart Arcade Edition. Now this is an arcade we've actually played together.
Yeah, we played it together.
We played that in London earlier in the year, in fact, it was. And I found that to be quite a fun game. Was the Japanese one the same? Did it have some differences?
I think there have been 3 or 4 variants of Mario Kart GP Arcade Edition is what it's called. So there's been Mario Kart GP Arcade Edition, and then there's 2, so I'm not going to say the title again. So they're made by Namco, so they've got like some Namco stuff in, like Pac-Man and Taiko drums and stuff like that. So you see like the racetracks, sometimes it'll be a Mario one, sometimes it'll be a Pac-Man one, and it plays, obviously it plays a lot more sort of loosely, because you have a real wheel and a real pedal system with brakes, and it's obviously like a lot harder to get used to. So the tracks are like bigger, and you've got more kind of leeway in where you go. But it's essentially the same Mario Kart experience, just like louder, brighter, and that was also the first HD Mario Kart, because it's been in the arcades for a long, long time. It's been around for maybe 10 years or more, I think now. So yeah, it's really, really fun. It's a different kind of Mario Kart, and I would love it if they would do some of that content as DLC. Yeah. Because it's a rare thing, and we've got one in London, but I don't know if many people have had the opportunity to play Mario Kart Arcade, because it's such a rare thing.
I can understand why they wouldn't do the DLC, especially somewhere like Japan, because
you want them to go out and pay for it.
From your footage, I'd say that it seemed in Japan they had a lot more of the purpose-built arcade units, like the Luigi's Mansion
Oh, yeah.
unit. You could only be used for one game. You couldn't put any other game, But I remember growing up here that you just have that classic, like the Space Invaders sort of shape arcade unit. And I remember playing the Simpsons arcade and the Turtles arcade and the Punisher arcade and all of these different games, R-Type and things, all in one unit, so they could just change out the game. So, I mean, I understand that that's something that would have come in because it's what makes you want to play it, an experience you can't have at home.
Exactly, yes.
You can have a vacuum cleaner, and like we were saying about light guns, you can have a light gun which isn't as easy to do at home, and it can be a massive, like the Alien.
Yeah, it's a much more than just like a
huge
accessory,
machine or something. It has vibration and all sorts of stuff. But I'd almost say that it seemed like they had more in the Japanese, these unique shaped sets than they do in a UK arcade.
Well, it's exactly what you're saying. They're trying to make an experience that you cannot emulate at home easily. But it's not so much to me that they have more because that's just what they like. It's just because those kind of games aren't naturally imported over here.
No.
I think it's just to do with what's big enough to come over here. But generally speaking, all modern arcade games, with the exception of the fighting games, are going to have that, because if you don't have a bespoke input system, it's like, well, why are you paying for it? But in terms of the Luigi's Mansion, which is a good example, because obviously you get the vacuum cleaner and it's like feels like a real piece of the Luigi's Mansion game, that had a rumble which is unlike any other I've ever felt. And they say the Nintendo Switch has 80 rumble, but this is something else.
This is 4K.
Yeah, because the ghost gets sucked into the vacuum cleaner and it really puts you back properly. You feel like a clunk, and it was so good. But other than that, the game was pretty
Yeah.
So I was really playing it for that.
I've never been a huge fan of Luigi's Mansion itself.
I think
anyway.
the game was aimed a little younger. It was very, very easy. But it's a light gun game with Luigi, so it's it's
got to play it.
I can't remember who made that one, because it's not made by Nintendo. But obviously it's licensed. I can't remember who made it. It's on the screen now.
I did notice that you went to a video game store as well. I don't know if you can say much about that. It looked like the best game shop I'd ever seen. I've never seen a video game shop with so much stock and so much variety. There's just a wall of PlayStation 2 games, but in 2017, so you straight away think of how rare probably a lot of those games are.
It's funny actually, because when we were younger, it was a lot easier to find a second-hand shop selling Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, but now it's quite difficult.
Markets.
Yeah, I remember we used to go to a market back, a long time ago. We used to do that, but here I find it hard to find. The only retro video game shop I know of in London has shut down recently. But we popped into that shop, and unfortunately that was towards the end of our holiday, so we already knew there was no room in the suitcases. All our money had been spent on Pikachus and things. But yeah, it was tempting because they had anything you could think of, and not just Kart only stuff, but some mint condition Game Boy games never been opened, and pretty reasonable prices. And the most expensive stuff I saw on there was the Famicoms were quite expensive, which is the Japanese NES. They were about £90 effectively. For an original one. No box, just a system, and I thought that was quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because we got a Famicom Mini, the HD one, for not a dissimilar price, so I don't know, but it's authentic, it's real. Obviously I'm into that stuff, so I appreciate people will pay it, but I would have liked to have picked up a couple of games if I had the spare money. But by that point we just spent everything.
But yeah, it looks like you had a great time over there. We're very jealous. And
do you think you'll ever go to Japan?
I'd love to. It's somewhere that really interests me, not just from a video game perspective, the whole culture, the country, everything. It's somewhere I would love to visit. And kind of my last question to sort of wrap this up, I suppose, really, is do you prefer a Japanese arcade to a UK arcade?
I'd really say that overall they're the same, because although you've got better games effectively in the Japanese ones, you don't have the smoke here in the UK, so I probably would spend more time in the UK one. And when all's said and done, it's worth, if you're enthusiastic about an arcade, it's worth putting a weekend aside, once a year, once every couple of years, just to go to a well-renowned place, a good business where they've got a lot of units, they take care of them, and you're going to meet people there who share your passion. So it's not like, oh, you have to go to Japan to have the real experience.
Yeah.
Because although it is very authentic, this is the home of arcades, it's not necessarily going to be the best experience you can have. You can have that experience at home if you're willing to just, do a bit of a journey, a bit of a road trip, and that will just add into the fun of doing it. So arcades are a thing of the past effectively, but there's still a lot of excitement to be had from seeking one out and finding a place that's good and looks after the games and it has everything that you want to see. So yeah, thank you for watching our discussion about the Tokyo arcades. If you have any questions, just leave them below in the comments. And if you liked our talking, you can find more talking on Alex's blog, which is pixelhq.com. We do the occasional podcast every now and then, video games and movies generally. So check it out if you're interested, and we'll see you next time.